Allan Lengel been trying to keep me the fuck off the radio.
Much better.
The radio.
Yeah, well, radio, podcast,
It's
TV.
podcast, baby.
It don't matter.
100%
It does matter.
No, it don't.
Yes, it does.
You come on here and act like you prim and proper. We know where you from, the streets. So stop all that.
Are you trying to say I'm in the streets? I'm of the streets? Is that what you're saying?
You ain't in the streets.
I'm not trying to act like I'm prim and proper. I am prim and proper. Don't talk about I'm acting.
You get a 4.3. Welcome, Detroit Black and White. I've been gone it seemed like a long time, but it hasn't been a long time. We're doing this virtually. Eric Brown, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you doing? Welcome back.
Thanks. Allan Lengel, co-founder of Deadline Detroit.
Hey, welcome back, Adolph.
And last and the star of the show, Vanessa Moss. How you
doing? Good morning. Good morning to all of you Detroit Black and White viewers. If you're watching us this morning, you know what I'm going to ask that you do. I'm going to ask that you hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button. I'm also going to ask that you share. Like, subscribe, share, hit that like button. You can catch us on all social media platforms. Good morning, Jill. Good morning, Queen B. Good morning, y'all. Thank you so much. Like, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends about Detroit Black and White. It's one of the hottest podcasts. Matter of fact, it is the hottest podcast coming out of Detroit, Michigan. Like.
According to us.
Well,
according to our viewers. What are you talking about? According to us.
Good morning, Derek Henry. Listen. Being away for a week or so, and you know what? I said I wasn't going to watch the news or see what was going on. You can't help it. Is American chaos or all this too is just a lot of bullshit that after 6, 7, 8 months, it will all come together because people will wake up and say, what the fuck is this guy doing in D.C.? I'll go to you, Allan.
Well, we were talking about a little bit.
Are we doing outrageous or what? What are we doing?
We're going to do the outrageous.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I think the guy has taken up. He's sucking up all the room in the courts. I mean, before he became president, now there's hundreds of lawsuits of people trying to stop. The Attorney General's offices are trying to block Elon Musk from having access to information he should not have access to. They're trying to get rid of. I mean, they're demonizing the U.S. aid. Look, is there misspending? Is there probably some contracts that need to be reviewed? Yes, but they just come with the axe and they just start chopping away. There's no precision to what they're doing. It's just and they're doing it unconstitutionally, and they're violating the law. They're violating the congressional laws there. It's exhausting. You know, Jon Stewart, the first time in 2017, he went on the Colbert Show and he said, you know what? Being president is supposed to age the president, not the people. And I think people are feeling the stress and age. So
we'll see. Vanessa.
Well, I'm going to do my outrage, but I got to give a shout out to Queen B, Bridget Huff, Timothy Squire Bay, Derek Henry. But Queen B says Dana Nessel wastes a lot of Michiganders' time and money fighting cases she or the AG she supports cannot win. This is getting tiresome. All right, Queen B. So my outrage, you know what? He's going to be the president for the next 4 years, and I swear I do not want to spend time on Detroit Black and White talking about him every.
Well, you don't have to spend time talking about it. That's the point.
So I'm not. I'm going to talk. My outrage is local. I'm not. I know what I can and cannot do, sir. Okay. So my outrage has to do with the young lady that murdered her son and buried him in the backyard. She had another kid. She took off and went to Atlanta. Of course, she's being extradited back here to Michigan to face charges. What's outrageous is this. When you read reports, and I read not only the paper newspapers, also on social media. This is a young lady who was very nice by all accounts and purposes when she first had the baby. The baby was her son was autistic, but she has severe mental health issues. She was in and out of shelters. She could not handle her autistic son. What's outrageous is that we still do not have a system to address mental health.
But
Do not have
let me ask you this question, Vanessa, because
yes.
you work in juvenile system. Isn't it outrage? Isn't it just as outrageous that the family of these kids, the grandmama and the nieces, nephews, or whoever, you got a baby. I know you got a baby. Then I don't see the baby or the 7-year-old, 8-year-old for eight weeks, 8 months, a year.
Right.
Why wasn't it reported?
I have no idea. You're right. I spent a whole lot of time, and I still do a lot of neglect and abuse and delinquency cases. And usually when there is some abuse, neglect going on in the home, what they try to do is place the kids in the most home-like setting. They try to place them with suitable relatives. Let's be real now. We're not living in a day and age where people
some of these relatives,
listen, I told my story on the campaign trail. By the time I graduated from high school, I had gone to 7 schools. I lived on the west side and the east side. I lived with my grandparents. It got to a point one time in my life, my grandparents, it's like, you're not going back over there. Now, I'm not dishonoring my parents at all. People are people. People have issues. The bottom line is this, just like you said, a lot of times, not a lot of times, this day and age, people are not stepping up because, like you said, where were her relatives to say, hey, let me take him. Let me take you. It might have been a situation where she was like, I don't want to be bothered with none of y'all. Leave me and my kids alone.
But I'll drop it.
At that point, they should have been making those phone calls.
Right, Allan.
Yeah. I agree with everything you're saying. I mean, the problem is the woman might not have been that social. I mean, she supposedly buried the kid and then 2 weeks later moved away down to Atlanta. So during that 2-week period, maybe she had no contact with people. And I just want to add that dealing with autistic kids is dealing with kids, period, is a challenge. Not everybody is up to raising children because you have to have patience. And to have an autistic kid is even much more challenging. It's frustrating when you deal with the kid who's not processing your conversations.
Allan,
compounded with your own mental health issues.
Yes.
Compounded with that.
Right. But Allan, I grew up in the projects out on 8 Mile Road in Royal Oak Township.
Right.
And there were several families that had kids that at that time you call them mentally retarded, mongoloid kids and stuff. But I'm going to tell you, those families, even though we live in poverty, they took care of their kids.
Right.
They played outside. They played with us. And you dare not abuse or make fun or laugh or whatever. Right. They didn't hide them. They did not hide them. They did not neglect them. They did not abuse them. And this is a so-called, they living in poverty and all this other bullshit that they throw on you. So, right.
Eric, if you got love, if you have patience and love,
if you got people looking out, your neighbors and family.
Listen, I want to get in there. Queen B talked about the father. Let me say this. I'm glad that you said something because I had this conversation yesterday. A lot of times, because I spent a whole lot of my practice, as you guys know, I practice 4 areas. When I first started, I was doing criminal and family, and I got very, very good in family. Gained a wonderful reputation. Most of my clients are men. Listen, for the longest time, and still today, we've seen some changes. For the longest time, men do not get a fair shake in court. They don't want to go to court. And it doesn't matter whether you're black or white. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, brown, yellow. men do not like going to court. You know why? They shut down at every moment, and women are given the advantage.
Benefit
Okay?
of the doubt.
And it's really unfortunate. So the reason I bring that up is because you had that the Harris young lady, the young lady that went missing, and her father was actually looking for her. Okay, he was actually looking for her. He has since passed away, but a lot of times people give men a bad rep, and there are a lot of good men out here, a lot of good fathers, a lot of good people who want to step up and be in their kids' lives. And guess what? They're shut down by the mamas, shut down by the family, and shut down by the court system.
Okay, Eric.
You know, I'm going to combine my outrage with the Black History moment, if that's okay.
That's fine.
So my outrage is the bullshit performative appearance by the Democrats storming the U.S. Department of Education yesterday, but they were fucking silent last week when the National Report Card came out. And, you know, hypocrisy of politicians just amazes me. And to that point, my Black History moment is Marva Collins from Chicago, Illinois, who founded the Westside Prep Academy at 3819 West Adams Street in Chicago. She founded that academy, did a fuck you to the city public school system by creating some very successful Black kids from a very urban community of the projects. A lot of them, many of them went on to be great successes. And I bring her up, and I'm purposely wearing this literacy hoodie because Charles Murray, who is the author of the Bell Curve book, disputed the success of giving Black kids an opportunity to fucking learn how to read. She proved him wrong.
Yep.
She proved the city public school system in Chicago wrong. She proved the State Department of Education system of Illinois wrong.
And she embarrassed, I think, DePaul University, one of those universities in Chicago, when she got the former basketball player sitting in the classroom. He went 4 years through college and couldn't read above a third grade student.
I mean, there was a young lady in her class when she first started the West Side Academy that was deemed to be retarded. And I know that's not politically correct to say nowadays. That lady is now a lawyer, very successful. She was so successful, and people always get on this kick about what Republicans don't do for Black. Ronald Reagan used her as an advisor, a Republican. So all this bullshit about what's not being done for Blacks, it was a Republican that catapulted her to a level of even more greatness.
Well, it maybe have been a Republican, but it's somebody's always had. I always say that right until Donald Trump got in office, Nixon was the most corrupt president, but Nixon was good to my generation.
Nixon was a good president. That was one of my father's heroes, actually.
I owed $50 when I left the University of Michigan after 4 years. I got grants, I got scholarships, everything was wide open.
They can't get them now.
Listen,
They can't get them now.
I had people tell me I've been paying on a $300,000 loan for 25 years. So that's crazy. Before I do mine, you had something to say, Vanessa?
No, I'm assuming after you do yours, we go to commercial break. We'll be able to go back and do our.
Let's do the commercial break now, and then I'll come back and do mine, and then we'll go.
Okay.
Move forward. This is Detroit in black and white. We're doing it virtual. Today, Saturday, supposed to be snowing. Man, I wish I was somewhere where the sun was out. Be right back.
In the heart of Detroit, Bruce Simpson. Our city ombudsman and his team are dedicated to making your voice heard. The City of Detroit Ombudsman is a liaison between the City of Detroit and all persons who have a complaint or inquiry into the operation of a city department or the conduct of a city employee. The Ombudsman works as an independent oversight to provide individuals with an opportunity of giving a confidential avenue to address complaints. You can reach the Ombudsman's office at 313-224-6000 or email us at ombudsmandetroitmi.gov. You can also visit us at the Coleman A. Young Municipal Center. For more information, go to www.detroitmi.gov and type in Ombudsman. We are here to help. In Detroit, we are all one team. When you win, we all win.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Welcome back to Detroit in Black and White with Eric Brown, Allan Lengel, and attorney Vanessa Moss. My outrage is we got a mayoral election coming, and I only heard one person talking about dealing with the school system. I'm an advocate of the city should be running the school system. People said, Listen, when the state took over under England, I think it was 1998, somewhere around there.
Well, before that,
they were in the black. They had $1 billion bond program, etc. When they got it back years later, it was in the red and it was busted. I have not seen these questions need to be asked of some of these candidates. What are you going to do with the schools? Oh, yeah, I see the usual suspects is getting involved. Dan Gilbert picked him a candidate, and probably Gary Turgo is playing all sides of the fence because he know how to play it. But none of this, the spotlight is not on the school system, and Veedy did a piss poor job. If I was the mayor of Detroit, his ass would have been fired. Not last year, but 3 years ago. His ass would have never got the job. He didn't put his kids in Detroit public schools. You don't get a fucking pass.
So you say if you were mayor, but the mayor doesn't run the school district.
Well, no, I'm saying they should be talking about taking over the school district if they got elected. Now,
I agree.
We go way back. Go to Coleman Young and go to others who said that the city should be running the school system. Yeah. Listen, DPS was a powerful. It was powerful back in the day. They not only
back in the day. When you say back in the day,
they ran the schools and they ran Wayne State. The state had to come in and break them up and say, you know what, you can't run the schools and whatever. But
back in the
Go ahead, Al.
Back in the day, Vanessa, was the 60s, 70s, and 80s. That's when DPS.
That's why, and that's where it was going.
I wasn't even talking about the 60s, 70s, and 80s because it was going down that way.
But wait a minute, Adolph. When you're talking about the schools was in the black before the state took over, let's look at how well the students were doing when the school was in the black. But
the bottom line, that's what I'm saying.
Control. Listen, those test scores were abysmal. Listen.
I'm saying.
Your first year in college, you're taking classes that you should have taken in high school.
No, that's why you got to have a city administration overseeing of the school system. That's what I'm talking about, Allan. Go ahead. You have.
I feel like by having having the school board so separate and autonomous. There's a disconnect in the city. I mean, I think like when Dan Gilbert is doing development, there should be, or the Illiches or whatever, there should be some component of development for education. There's nobody working on. I mean, we have all these beautiful buildings downtown. Who's going to live there not people with kids who are of school age kids. Why are we not building, some really nice schools downtown Detroit? We've got Cass, which is a great school.
I'm tired of hearing about Cass. I'm tired of hearing about
but it's not enough.
You know what?
Not enough.
Those are good schools, but damn, you can't build a school district. Now you get these hip hop people coming in here. They bring in their little babies and stuff. But once the little babies turn 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, where are you going to send them to school? Gone are the days where you can just walk across the street and go to school. You got to have that school board to answer to somebody, and they ain't answer to shit. I'm going to tell you.
Here's part of the problem.
Right.
The school board failed to realize that they were elected by the people and that they hired the superintendent. Over the last 2 years, these school board members feel that the superintendent hired them.
Right.
And let's take a look at the Michigan State Department of Education. They have a superintendent. The state of Michigan has a superintendent. The state of Michigan have elected school boards. Now, no one said anything about the proposal that became a reality when the current governor created MyLeap. And MyLeap is the Lifelong Education and Advancement and Potential Department, which is separate, a whole nother autonomous body from the state elected school board and the superintendent. They have a leader of MyLeap as well. So to your point, Adolph, I've been saying this for the longest. It makes no sense. The city don't have to, if they don't want to run it, create a task force.
Listen, they created the EAA or whatever the fuck that was. That was just a money grab. They put some fucking idiot in charge of it. They took all the money from DPS, took it to the EAA, whatever. And you know what? The bottom line is this should be a number one priority in the fucking campaign.
But listen, this goes back to what we were talking about a little bit last night. You have an elected school board, right? Why aren't the citizens making these school board members accountable? Why in the heck?
Because they sending their kids to other schools.
So you have a mayor.
They sending their kids across 8 Mile Road. They sending their kids to Catholic schools. They sending their kids to private schools. They sending their kids to Southfield, Oak Park, North Farmington, Farmington Hills, Berkeley.
But guess what? If you want a world-class city and you want to attract people to stay here and have their kids educated here, guess what? Every school should be a Cass Tech, not just a Cass Tech or Renaissance or Martin Luther King. And guess what?
It should be your neighborhood school, and your neighborhood school should be good.
It should be, yes, and you should have a superintendent. It should be a requirement that your kids go to school in the district that you are the superintendent of. That's ridiculous.
Comment, Allan, and then I got to comment on what
I was going to say. There are some. My niece, for quite a long time, lived in the city, and she sent her kid to Waldorf, and then you have U of D High School, which is a private school. She's now teaching. She was teaching at the Bog School. Now she's teaching at Roper, and her kid is going to Roper. But there are people who have some money or get some scholarships or whatever who go to these really good private schools, but there has to be, I know Jalen Rose has a school that he backs in the city of Detroit. There are some good schools, but there are not enough. And like you say, the Detroit kids are going everywhere else, Oak Park, Southfield. It's just not the way you have a city where you create a community where kids should be able to go to school, walk to school, at best, or even get bus to school for 15 minutes, but to go out, to the burbs, and it's just so disjointed.
You talk about going out to the burbs. You talk about Oak Park and Southfield. Listen, those school districts not what they used to be either. Okay, and so they're running from those school districts as well. These people the kids at Oak Park. Listen, they got to leave Oak Park and go somewhere else. There has to be. Listen. The Department of Education, people are so pissed off that the president of the United States says we're going to dismantle it. Going back to Eric's point,
You know why they want to dismantle it.
done.
Listen,
and maybe if you have
listen,
like
Vanessa,
you said, and the mayor runs it, maybe that's where it begins.
Okay, Vanessa, you tell that you're not telling all the truth on that. The reason they want to dismantle it because they want to funnel all that money to people like Betsy DeVos and all these other folks.
Listen,
it ain't about whether they
listen. Eric and I had this debate last week.
All Eric, I'm going back to my original.
Listen, Eric,
this is my original outrage. My
you didn't
original
listen to
outrage.
me. What I was saying was,
I want to wrap up my
what I was saying is something different has to happen, and maybe what you suggested is the beginning of something positive.
Okay,
that's all I'm saying.
Let me wrap up my outrage. And if I was able to take control as the mayor, that the superintendent and all his top officials, if they have any school kids or school age kids, it's like residents gotta go to a public school inside the city of Detroit. If you want to get, I don't care where the fuck you live at. You know, if you want a job and you want to make that $250,000 and all that perks, or $300 or $400, what the fucker is making, and you don't have to answer to anybody, and you got a rah-rah club saying you the best in the business. Yeah, he the best in the business. He's cool. Fuck. I came back here to Detroit. There was 200,000 kids. Now, what we got? 30,000?
Less than 50,000. Less than 50,000.
But even with that small number, they're not doing well. That's a problem. That
and Queen B brings up
you can't take care of these kids. You can't take care of these kids. Eric, you come on here. Every time you come on here, you talk about the test scores and all that, and why these parents don't care about the test scores in Detroit. Listen, test scores in Oak Park and Southfield, Pontiac, all these other places just as fucked up as the test scores here. There has to be a war on our school system. You know, when I was in high school, junior high, we was fighting about busing. You know, that people didn't want us to be bussed in. Allan, they didn't want us to be bussed to Oak Park. And you know, I couldn't sit next to Allan because something might rub off on Allan and, shit, and all that other shit. And Detroit, they was adamant about not integrating some of these schools because they've been gerrymandered forever. Northern and a couple schools were all black for Eastern, Miller. So something has to happen, and I'll get to you, Vanessa.
But Oak Park was pretty well. Do you feel like Oak Park was not welcoming?
No, they wasn't. There were people like you and teachers and stuff. I could name a whole lot of shit, but I'm not even trying to go back to the blast of the past. All I'm saying is the priority of these candidates, and I only heard one, and one that was Santil Jenkins talking about education. It was part of her program. Nobody else is saying anything, and you know what? Something's not right on that. You get the last word, Vanessa. Then we move on to our Black history. Wait, before you get the last word, we'll come back, give you the last word, and then we'll move on. This is Detroit in Black and White. Be right back.
In the heart of Detroit, Bruce Simpson. Our city ombudsman and his team are dedicated to making your voice heard. The City of Detroit Ombudsman is a liaison between the City of Detroit and all persons who have a complaint or inquiry into the operation of a city department or the conduct of a city employee. the Ombudsman works as an independent oversight to provide individuals with an opportunity of giving a confidential avenue to address complaints. You can reach the Ombudsman's office at 313-224-6000 or email us at ombudsmandetroitmi.gov. You can also visit us at the Coleman A. Young Municipal Center. For more information, go to www.detroitmi.gov and type in Ombudsman. We are here to help. In Detroit, we are all one team. When you win, we all win.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in the home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
Welcome back to Detroit Black and White. Go ahead, Vanessa.
Before I make my last comment, I just want to acknowledge some of the comments. Jill Sheridan said dismantle it so they can privatize it, which is the point that you were making. And actually, Eric and I had a very spirited conversation about that last week. And I agree. You also have Terry McCrimmon, who says if you want to see lots of Black kids walking down the streets at the school, at school hours, just drive through Westland, Ferndale, and other suburbs. Joe Cool says once the parents show they care, then the political class will move. You had one comment, I think it was Queen B, who said, listen, you go to these school board meetings out in other areas in the suburbs, and I'm paraphrasing, she said they're packed. But if you go to a Detroit Public School Board meeting, it's virtually empty.
You know why?
That is my point.
You know why? You know why it's empty? Because it took 20 years for the elected officials from the Detroit public schools to beat down parents. They had the police throw them out of meetings. We had some passionate parents here in Detroit, and they fought for years. They made a lot of changes. And it was elected officials who came through. They made back door deals. Kwame, as a state rep, made backdoor deals to give the district up to the state because he hated Dennis Archer. Dennis Archer put Freeman Hendricks and Mike Duggan in charge of the money. They gave away all the fucking money to all these cronies. And I'm gonna make my last point on this. How can you have the same construction company that built a Clarkston school campus, that built the new Cass Tech? Clarkston had all this acreage of land, science lab, sports facility, a state-of-the-art school, and they spent less money than Cass Tech, who they couldn't even get the fucking
football field
right. And you know our kids get we get short staffed every fucking time. So
let me make
a decade or two to run the parents away.
So what you're saying is the school board meetings are empty by design. It's by design.
Yeah, it's by design. Okay. They don't want any opposition.
Let me make a quick point, Adolph, because Queen B also mentioned a parent by the name of Aaliyah Moore. Aaliyah Moore is a very informed parent, go to all the meetings. She came in 4th place in the last race. A lot of the other candidates were backed by various entities, private entities, business entities. And I have been saying for the longest, the intent is to keep them dumb so you can control them. That's the intent. Somebody can challenge me on that all they want. That is the intent, and it's working.
Allan, go ahead.
No, I agree with everything you guys are saying in terms of the school system needs an overhaul, and it may start with. There's no incentive to really make radical changes.
What, pay them $1,000 a year to come to school?
Right.
We talked about that a few weeks ago. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's out of frustration. They don't know what to do. And so they see it as innovation. We may see
Blow
it
it up.
kind of,
Blow
So
the shit up.
they want to see the attendance numbers look good. That's not improving the outcome of the classroom.
Exactly. I'm like, you say that there's an incentive and they're frustrated. I don't believe that, Allan. I think, listen, if I want to pay you $1,000 for your kids to come to school, look, our attendance records are up. Everybody is showing up to school. But are they going to be able to
Can I re-enroll?
well, they can't learn if they're
Can
not
they
there.
compete once they finish high school? Will they be able to compete? I'm telling you, no.
But Vanessa,
Looking at
it's
the
not.
test scores, they can't even compete with
It's
their counterparts in other countries in terms of reading, writing, and arithmetic.
it's not
Period.
it's not a guarantee, but you got to get them into school. Till if they're not showing up to school, then they're for sure not learning.
But they're just showing up to get the incentive. Some of the money cards don't even have money on when they try to go use them.
It's up to the teacher then to figure out innovative ways. Once you've got them in the class,
Don't point on the teachers now.
No, I'm saying, you know what?
The teachers only play the hand that they dealt.
You know what?
Yes.
In DC, the Washington Post.
That's the worst. That's the worst comparison.
In DC, the Washington
Post. It is a bad comparison, Allan.
Right.
That's the worst comparison.
DC is the capital of this country, and DC and Baltimore has two of the worst school districts in the country.
Right. Well, let me say something, please. In DC, the Washington Post had a program where we worked with high schools in their journalism programs. I went for probably, I can't remember, 2-3 years, I was at Ballou High School right off of MLK Boulevard. I mean, there had been 8 students murdered during that school year. Some of the kids, I went and I brought pizza, I brought chicken wings, I brought ice cream, and that incentivized them, first of all, to be engaged. I got kids to write. One girl said, I don't know what to write about. I said, what do you do after school? She goes, I go down MLK Boulevard and I go to the Chinese place, get carry out. I said, let's do restaurant reviews on MLK. She loved it. I mean, you have to figure out creative ways to engage the students.
So why didn't you quit your high-powered job at the Post and become a teacher?
Look, I did that at Ballou High School, Wilson High School, and it worked. Go ahead, Allan. And when at Wilson High School, which was a little closer where I lived, we had an assignment. I said, okay, we're going to walk to the Starbucks. And while we go there, I don't want anyone talking. I want you to observe everything. I want you to smell. I want you to hear. And you're going to write a story when we come back. When we got to Starbucks, everyone got to order whatever they wanted. And even some of the kids who were so unengaged did the assignment because they were incentivized in one way or another. And so we have to figure out what it is that motivates kids. They all want to be productive. They just are somewhat directionless sometimes, and that's up to teachers and parents to sort out.
When you cut gym, when you cut art, when you got a swimming pool in your fucking building, it ain't been operating for a decade. When you don't have a tennis program, you don't have a soccer program. Only thing you got is a football or a basketball, baseball. You got to go out and beg for some money for a baseball field. You know what? They get an F. They fail. You blow the fucking school system up, and you take it over. You lead a movement to take over the school district. Whoever becomes the next mayor need to be out there stumping and said, I want the school district. I want the school district. They need to send shockwaves to those folks that's over there, been enjoying life, taking trips, getting pay raises, and that's had a great old time here in Detroit. They did the Robert Bob. We had the Robert Bob era where they just ate all the shit up and went to Chicago and went to jail because they didn't let them do that in Chicago. So all I'm saying, go right back to
your
take
point.
it over, make it part of the narrative when these, if you know, we're going to get some of these candidates to come on the show, and that is the question that you got to ask: who should be running the school district?
But Adolph, to your point, Adolph, when they went before the Detroit Policy Conference, and not a single one of the 5 city council members that was at that conference that spoke, 2 of which are candidates for the mayor, and they before the business community, they are before the foundation community, and Mary Sheffield and Fred Dorhall not speaking about education. Again, it's systematic and it's all planned. They don't want them to be smart. They continue to control these kids. You keep them dumb, you control them.
Right. I just want to give a shout out to some of our commenters. Duela Boyce, good morning. She said the parents have changed. Sherman Moore said, SHIDDDD. What about making these parents pay for each kid $3 to start? They have in the district. We are not taking advantage of free education anyway. We also had a comment saying that this is a great conversation. We're going to ask that you hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button, and share. No automotive programs, no home economic programs, no music programs. This is the kind of conversation that we're having. Robert Bob, the man with 2 first names, is another reason. Detroit parents ran to the surrounding suburb.
Well, because they just came in here like a bunch of locusts, and they ate up all the crops, and they moved on. And that's what they do. Detroit public schools is a buffet. Everybody ate up.
You have a superintendent making all that money. You have schools with no heat, no air, no toilet paper, no paper towel. I mean, it's really, like you said, it's really effed up. It's really effed up.
And then you have I like Reverend Holly. Reverend Holly been a pillar of the community at times, but he has a charter school and stuff.
Right.
But Reverend Holly had a contract with DPS. How the fuck you pay your competition? You don't do that. You don't do that. They had all kind of shit going on. Listen, you could, whatever you want to say about Alonzo Bates, may he rest in peace. He cared about education. He cared. He fought. Kwame Kenyatta. You might not agree with them politically on a whole lot of other things, but they cared. I can. Oh man, you can name these folks that fought the wars in the 60s to get Black students access to a good education, and we have dropped the ball. Now from 200 and some thousand kids to 30 some thousand kids, our kids are spread out everywhere like refugees. It just don't make sense that this shouldn't be at the top of the priority list when it comes to talking about what are the main issues for mayoral candidates, besides where the money coming from when the bill is gonna come in the mail for the bankruptcy.
Right.
To crime, of course, and how we can take that development downtown and other parts of the city and move it into the neighborhoods.
You have Kay Hicks. He said, no offense, but I'm glad I don't have any kids. Black parents do not encourage their kids to go to law school. They are just effing happy with them staying home after they graduate from high school.
But that's not fucking true. That's not fucking true.
I would say this.
That's not true.
I would say, but that's his opinion.
Well, that's his opinion, but it's not
we allow people to have their opinion. We could disagree, but we allow people on the show. That's why it's Detroit Black and White.
That's why I have to have the last word. That's why I have the last word on that.
I'm going to say this. I have a son who lived in the city. He has 2 kids. They moved, to another state. But he and I had the conversation. He was not going to send his kids to a DPS school. It was just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So I do think that there needs to be not just conversation, there needs to be action. And hopefully those school board members, some have been on the show, are looking at the show and that they're taking notes. Trust me, I'm sure some of them are.
Okay, we're gonna take a break, and we're gonna come back and do our Black History Month part of the program. This is Detroit in Black and White with Allan Lengel, co-founder of Deadline Detroit, Eric Brown, literacy expert, and attorney Vanessa Moss, that always starting shit on a cold morning.
That's okay.
We'll be right back.
That's okay.
In the heart of Detroit, Bruce Simpson. Our city ombudsman and his team are dedicated to making your voice heard. The City of Detroit Ombudsman is a liaison between the City of Detroit and all persons who have a complaint or inquiry into the operation of a city department or the conduct of a city employee. The Ombudsman works as an independent oversight to provide individuals with an opportunity of giving a confidential avenue to address complaints. You can reach the Ombudsman's office at 313-224-6000 or email us at ombudsmandetroitmi.gov. You can also visit us at the Coleman A. Young Municipal Center. For more information, go to www.detroitmi.gov and type in Ombudsman. We are here to help. In Detroit, we are all one team. When you win, we all win.
Hi, I'm Eric Sabri, your Wayne County Treasurer. If you're living in a home of a deceased family member and you're facing property tax foreclosure, the probate process can be helpful to you. If you file a probate petition and notify our office, the foreclosure proceedings will be halted during the probate process. Contact us at 313-224-5990 or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. We're here to help.
You know what? I like that.
Black and white. Go ahead.
I like that part of the commercial where Bruce Simpson says, "When Detroit win, we all win." That is so true.
Okay. I'll go to you, Vanessa.
Okay. Yes. My Black History Month figure is Marian Anderson. She was born February 27th, 1897. She passed away April 8th, 1993. She was an American contralto. She performed a wide range of music from opera to spirituals. The reason I picked her is because I think she made a very huge impact on American history as a Black opera singer. She was important in the struggle for African-American artists to overcome racial prejudice in the United States during the mid-20th century. In 1939, during the period of racial segregation, the Daughters of Revolution refused to allow her to sing at an integrated audience in Constitution Hall in Washington, D.C. The incident placed her in the spotlight of the international community on a level unusual for classical musicians. With the aid of the First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt, and her husband, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Anderson performed a critically acclaimed open-air concert on Easter Sunday, April 9th, 1939, on the Lincoln Memorial Steps in the Capitol.
Yep.
That is a feature in a documentary about Marian Anderson. You guys can Google it. Her performance brings chills to you. And I salute to Marian Anderson. We talk about the arts, we talk about education, but we don't talk about opera singers. And so I wanted to talk about Marian Anderson.
Okay, good. That was good. Eric?
I did mine earlier with Marva Collins.
Oh, yes, you sure did. Allan?
I'm going to go with Allan, who just passed away on Tuesday night at the age of 79. Al was born in Little Rock, came to Detroit when he was a kid, went to Mumford High School, went back to Little Rock, I think in 1969 to work at a radio station, came back here, worked for WCXI, WGPR, WJLB, and in 1984, he joined, at the time was WJBK TV, which later became known as Fox 2. He was just beloved. I mean, the TV reporters, they are hustling all day. They're getting sent one story here and then one story there. And Al would show up and he had that smile. And, he started out, he did a lot of the weather stuff, but he did some serious journalism too. And it was just it's always such an honor to be with a group of journalists who not only have a good sense of humor, but are really dedicated, hardworking, and
he told you the real deal.
Yeah, just nice,
the real deal.
Nice people. So hats off to Allan.
Me and Allan was the last two people to greet Coleman Young as he left the city county building.
Oh, really?
Last day of work. I called Allan and said I got the time when he was leaving. He was the only TV station there when Coleman Young came out, and for the last time as mayor. So yeah, Allan was a great person.
Yep.
My Black history, I can read off 1,000 of them, 100 or whatever. Paul R. Williams, not the Paul Williams we know that sang with the Temptations, or the little white midget Paul Williams that used to be all on TV singing. Paul R. Williams, all these beautiful houses from the 30s and the 40s in Beverly Hills and Hollywood, Errol Flynn, Clark Gable, you name them, they had an architect that designed and built these houses. It was Paul R. Williams, the black man. He couldn't even live in a neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
He used to have to get an escort because the police used to stop him from going in. The Burt Lahr, the Cowardly Lion, when he built his on the Wizard of Oz, built his first house, his daughter just put a memo out saying that he went and got this black architect. It was Paul R. Williams. The Beverly Hills Hotel, the Beverly Hills Hilton, he designed half of the restaurant, etc. He couldn't even get a cup of coffee in there. Paul R. Williams was a hell of an architect. Built a lot of houses for a lot of people and had to get pissed on, shit on by the same public who will come out. They get him to build a house. Then they come out and say, black people dumb. They can't do this. They can't do that. So I want to honor Paul R. Williams. People should know when they go to these places out in California. Who designed that? Same person, a black architect that designed Duke campus. His nephew was a former federal judge, Julian Cook. So that used to be in federal court. Didn't you? Was he still alive when you was covering the feds here?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Julian Cook. Yeah. He was such a great guy. He had such a great temperament on the bench. He was such really a class guy. And
I just want to add this. Donald Trump said, we're going to stop giving money to South Africa, and we're going to bring over all those white folks that they discriminating against who led the apartheid regime. And the president of South Africa said, go ahead. Because all the minerals you need from our country, you motherfuckers are not going to get them. Now, if the Congo and all these other countries say, okay, Donald Trump, keep your shit. We'll go to the Chinese or we'll go to the Soviets. But you can't have those minerals that make your cell phone work and all the other shit that you get out of the continent. Go ahead, Vanessa.
So we're honoring doing Black History Month. I just want to give a shout out to some of our viewers. Bumpy Johnson, he said honoring Lincoln Alexander for Black History Month here in Canada. Mr. Alexander was the first Black member of Parliament and cabinet member. He later served as Ontario's Lieutenant Governor. Bridget Huff, Alice Parker, inventor in earlier early 20th century, known for patenting a heating system that uses natural gas. Terry McCrimmon, thank you for watching. He says Black people designed the Great Pyramids that everyone are so enamored with.
I thought Bumpy Johnson was going to honor Bumpy Johnson. he really turned the number business into a money maker. I can honor the late Bumpy Johnson. Go
Right,
ahead,
right. We also had a comment on Timothy Squire Bay. He, in reference to the comment about education, he says that it should be mandatory that if you work for Detroit Public Schools and have school-age children, your child must attend Detroit Public Schools. The same with all Detroit
that,
public.
you know that's going to be a fight.
He said the same thing.
But the union's going to fight you.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
The unions is going to fight you.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Allan.
I would say it's interesting you talk about the architect, people who design these great buildings and stuff and weren't allowed in there. And we see that with just the Detroit Athletic Club. Albert Kahn, who was Jewish, built the club in 1915. Jews were not allowed. Blacks were not allowed until I think 1979.
Right.
And then women weren't fully allowed in till the 80s. And I think at some point these people had to go, when they were allowed, they had to go through side doors and stuff like that. I mean, the Detroit Athletic Club is still, I mean, it bugs me. What they have swastika tiles in the dining room.
But you know they're going to tell you, Lengel, that's a Hindu meaning.
Right.
And Hitler co-opted the swastika.
Yeah, in 1920.
He did it. He did a hell of a job of it.
Yeah.
Allan, I just want to say,
Queen B said Harold Varner too. Listen, he was met with segregation as an architect.
Yeah,
Harold Varner was a good guy. I like Harold Varner. Him and Howard Sims, they done some phenomenal work here in the city of Detroit, and they opened and paved the way for a lot of young Black architects. A great comment, Queen B.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Vanessa.
We have great commenters. We have someone who's want to comment on Allan's Black History Month. Allan. They indicated that Allan made sure he ate at a Black-owned restaurant, Detroit Shrimp and Fish, once a week. So they appreciate you doing a shout out about Allan.
Yeah, Allan. Allan, your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are I'm going to be watching the Super Bowl, but not sure who I'm rooting for. It's kind of a little bit of a unfortunate the Lions aren't in there, but that's sports. You know, sports is full of twists and turns. So,
Eric, your final thought?
You know, actually, I should have made this my outrage because I just find it so hypocritical with regards to so many that were silent about the NFL agreeing to remove in racism just because that was a request of the president. And the amount of silence, in addition to people still willing to watch that bullshit when they changed their tune, even though they didn't bring Colin Kaepernick back to the NFL as a result of Colin Kaepernick. So fuck the NFL. I've never watched that shit again.
Okay, Vanessa.
So we're going to talk about the NFL. Everybody who really knows me knows that I was a football mom, football fanatic. I stopped watching NFL before Colin Kaepernick with the CTE. Listen, people want to talk about how much money these players make running that ball. Just think about how much money these owners of these football teams make. And for them to treat these people, and in particularly, most of them are Black, to treat them like they're on a plantation is offensive to my core. So I will not be watching. I have not watched. I don't care who wins. I think it's wonderful that those people that are players are making money and that they're providing for their family. I don't have to support. I'm not supporting.
Okay.
I'll be watching Heidi if it's on.
Oh, man, River, you must know something. Poke that bar, lift that bell.
That's
get a
right.
little drunk, and land in jail.
I'd be
Yep.
curious. Explain to me when you talk about the plantation
Well,
mentality.
that's another show. We
Okay,
can
all right.
do it on Wednesday,
Okay.
Allen. And, I'll catch some of the Super Bowl, but I don't care who wins. I was glad Lions wasn't in the fucking thing. So we'll be back on Wednesday. Detroit in black and white. I'm Adolph Mongo. Thank you, Allan Lengel. Thank you, Vanessa Moss. Thank you, Eric Brown, and thanks to all the viewers and people who made comments.
Like, subscribe, and share. Tell your friends about it.
Have a good one.